And she is, well, pretty much runs Ocean Hills right here. And I know she's a very, very familiar face to you. And I knew that she did nutrition, but I had absolutely no idea to what extent and how knowledgeable and what her background is. And actually, she's got a new book that came out by Sonoma Press. It's about apple cider vinegar, which I'm taking now. But it's full of it's a beautiful, beautiful book, and it's written with a little bit of sass and some great recipes and lots of historical information about apple cider vinegar. But enough about that. These are going to be available at the over here if you guys are interested. But I wanted to read you the bio, and they're all on your table. But I wanted to read you just a little bit because I wanted you to have her website and her blog so that you can kind of see what she's up to. She's a certified holistic nutrition consultant and health educator. She works predominantly with women, helping them find the freedom of health in their own ever-changing bodies. For wellness, wisdom, and real food recipes, visit her blog. She currently lives in Santa Barbara, California, with her husband David, and they're just about to celebrate their one-year anniversary.
Almost there. Couple weeks.
Yeah. So welcome her. We're so glad she's here.
Thank you.
Have a great morning.
Thank you. Oh, stop. It feels so high up here. But I'll stay up here anyway. Figure this guy out here. Thank you for that lovely introduction, Renee. It's really good to be up here and not hiding behind that little desk over there, as I usually am, and as on Wednesday mornings when you guys see me. I'm sure some of you are probably wondering, well, she kind of already explain that, but I'm sure some of you are wondering why the part-time office manager is speaking at M&M's. And like Renee said, believe it or not, printing church programs is not my dream job and calling in life. Just don't tell John or Jono that. But in truth, I went to Westmont College and I got a bachelor's in communications, and then I went on to a school called Bowman College of Holistic Health, where I did my certification in holistic nutrition, which is my dream job and kind of my career path. So I essentially get paid to tell people what to eat, which is really fun. And I work predominantly, like Renee said in that little bio, with women, mostly of childbearing age, so similar to yourself. And it's essentially investigating root causes of health problems. So it's less about working with people who just want to lose a few pounds. It's more about getting to the root of issues and health obstacles that maybe conventional medicine hasn't allowed someone to truly overcome. I have worked some with men before, although I don't know if anybody can identify with this, but they tend to think they're a little invincible. So my recommendations only go so far in those cases. My husband said I was allowed to include him in that. So I'm slowly refining my niche down and my demographic a little more to actually work specifically with women who are entering a season of really wanting to nourish their own fertility and then pre and postnatal. And as I kind of started to work more with women in that demographic, there was a little bit of anxiety in myself because this is no surprise to anyone, but I don't have kids yet. And so there's a little bit of that element of fear, even though I have the education and the knowledge and the certification, my fear and my self-doubt starts to come in that people won't listen to me because I haven't experienced it firsthand. And then my sweet, logical husband pointed out, well, think about all the male OBGYNs out there that are never going to experience childbirth, yet you trust them with your life. So, touche to that. So even still today, I'm going to focus more on us as women. And I'm sure, well, I'm assuming maybe a few of you cringed a little when you heard that there was another health person speaking this morning, and I do not take offense to that. I was once very much that way, but I do want to assure you and hopefully get you to believe that I'm trying. My goal is to be one of the most non-judgmental nutritionists, and I do have stories to back that up. So I was raised in Santa Barbara, but I was not raised on wheatgrass shots or grass-fed beef or any of that. My parents did not do yoga with me when I was 1 year old, none of that. Rather, we bought Cheez-Its in bulk at Costco, and this is my favorite one because it sounds like a joke, but it's not. And my mom would send me to school every day with a Nutella sandwich. Literally white bread, Nutella, white bread, lunch. Which I thought was normal. I think it was maybe third grade or so, and I would go, and as kids do, they'd trade little elements of their lunch, and bizarrely enough, I was very popular in those moments, and actually have memories of trading like for a turkey sandwich, because that was kind of a novelty to me. Like, oh, turkey and cheese? Sure, you can have this dessert sandwich. So that was normal. So that said, we were definitely far from soaking and sprouting our own almond milk or anything of that sort. I joke, but my family has been very supportive in this health venture, and they know that I often tell backstories of how we were raised. So this is where I'm coming from. So my goal is always to be as approachable and educational as possible. I have a really firm belief that every body is truly unique. So I'm going to talk less about, I don't know, macronutrients and specific meal planning agendas. It's because when you're speaking with a group, it's really hard. I really believe in unique nutrition. So if you were to work with me one-on-one, which is essentially what I do, I'll work with clients one-on-one, and it's usually over the course of a couple months. I have a really lengthy intake form with all symptoms and health history, so we kind of work through that to find root causes of things. I make people fill out a 3-day health journal, which essentially is just what you eat every single second of the day and drink. And then we work through specific nutrient recommendations and supplementation and whatnot. I do a lot of work online, so if you are a big fan of Instagram, you can go on there. I try to post stuff every day or so, and that's been a really fun outlet for me as well. But I did want to just mention that it's extra good to be here specifically because while I've spoken and done cooking classes with women before, it's really rare that I speak with a group of people who are all somewhat like-minded in their faith. And while I know I'm sure we're all at different places in that world, I know that it feels very freeing for me to be up here and to be able to work bits of scripture and bits of my own faith into my knowledge of nutrition as well. Because I see a lot of negativity surrounding the health and nutrition world, especially in the media. I know that's no surprise to anybody, but I just wanted to point out 2 things that I'm kind of trying to combat here and then also just in my work in general. And those 3 things that I see a lot of health professionals stirring up are fear, guilt, and stress. And I'll just give quick examples of each. So fear, I think it was about a month ago, I think the World Health Organization came out with these splashing headlines about how bacon will give you cancer, like tomorrow. And I actually got several emails and Facebook messages that day. Is this true? Can you tell me this isn't true? And I don't personally believe that. I think there are bits and pieces of facts there, but I always get a little sad when fear-mongering is used in this world. And then guilt, I see a lot, especially amongst, I guess a good example would be when I'm on Instagram, there's a lot of women, and it's not shameful to do this, but it's the captions that I see. A lot of women actually have started different meal plans or diets, and they'll have a new Instagram account just to follow, their body changing and the meals they're eating, and that's all well and good and very motivational. But some of the captions I read make me so sad because it's all about screwing up one little detail of the diet and having to start over from ground zero and all this guilt setting in. And I always try to promote balance to counteract that guilt that I see. And then the last one is just stress, that I feel like people are often told that they have to meal plan a certain way or prep or prepare food a certain way if they want their families to have any shot at health whatsoever. So it's true. It's true. I know you know it's true. That's why you're laughing. And so I'm trying to combat that as well. So typically, I feel like people speaking with groups of moms would talk more about children, and I have done that in the past with different MOPS groups and whatnot, flu prevention for your babies and whatnot. But I have a hard time believing that there's really any mother in this room. Do I need to be standing somewhere? I have a hard time believing that there's any mother in this room that actually needs to be told, who wouldn't serve the needs of their child before themselves. As women, I know we all have really sacrificial instincts, the mama bear instinct that comes out, which is really useful in a lot of situations, and I know that's really important. But when we aren't serving out of the overflow of our own health, it's my belief that it's really can become a detriment not only to ourselves, but to our families then as well. I know that none of you need to be told to take better care of your kids. You are already here. You're being mentored by those who have gone before you. You know how to love your families well. But what you might not be told very often is how to take care of yourself well and how to love yourself well, so that then you can go on to serve out of the own fullness of your own health. So I mentioned 3 negative ways that I see nutrition and health knowledge being used kind of in our culture. And I'm trying to combat those basically with 3 areas that I focus on in my own practice, and those are simply just daily wellness and maintenance, getting through the day, feeling good at the end of it, then overall healing of disease, which may or may not be something that some of you are walking through right now. And then the last one is what I'll be focusing on for the rest of our little time together is self-care, true self-care. And I don't mean grabbing a carton of ice cream and seeing a movie by yourself, although that can be a very valid form of self-care. But we're going to focus a little bit more on self-care that doesn't come with any guilt at the end of it. So if you look at the topic of, I think the topic is on one of those little half sheets, but it's a little lengthy of a title. It's in the middle there, but I wrote, God made your body, Jesus paid for it, the Holy Spirit lives in it, so we should take care of it. And the Bible embraces, I think, 3 incredibly important truths, which are the fact that God made our bodies, the fact that Jesus died for our bodies, and the fact that the Holy Spirit lives in it. I think grasping these truths before we begin maybe a journey of health will really change your perspective. So I just will hit a little bit on those 3 truths. The message I pulled a chunk of Psalm 139 that's not on your sheets, but I'm sure we're all somewhat familiar with Psalm 139 about how we were intimately made. But from the message, there's a chunk I'll read. It says, body and soul, I am marvelously made. I worship in adoration at what a creation. You know me inside and out. You know every bone in my body. And I love that verse because it's truly talking about our physical bodies, which we don't, I don't think we tie our faith into that as much these days. And then the second truth is that Jesus died for our sins, but he paid for our bodies. And the verse that's kind of the theme for this time is from 1 Corinthians 6. And I'll just read it again. It says, don't you realize that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who lives in you and was given to you by God? You do not belong to yourself, for God bought you with a high price. So you must honor God with your body. And then thirdly, that the Holy Spirit lives in our bodies. If we are Christians, those verses I just read means that your body is not your own and it's God's temple. And I believe he's really talking about our earthly bodies. I mean, why else are we not just these spirits floating around? He gave us these cases, in some senses, for his Spirit to live in. And I think that good health is one way that we can take care of this temple. So I'm fascinated by the fact that the Trinity's love is so wrapped up in our earthly bodies in these verses. And I believe that health and self-care really are a spiritual discipline, which may be a little bit of a new concept that I'm hoping will spark some good conversation at the tables later. But we can't effectively serve God if we're constantly run down or overly stressed or sick all the time. And I know that those are soft spots for a lot of us because we've all gone through different seasons of that. But again, because God created our bodies and the Holy Spirit lives in them, knowing these truths can mean that we're no longer getting healthy and taking care of ourselves just to fill in the blank, just to fit into this certain outfit or just to hit a certain weight on a scale. We are literally now using our own health and self-care to honor God and to become better worshipers of him. So I find that really motivating, an empowering reason to take care of ourselves. So I wanted to help with a few hopefully easy, and practical applications. There are other full sheet handouts out there, and if there aren't enough, we can make more copies later. But I wanted to touch on 2 areas that are very dear to my own heart, and those are anxiety and sleep quality. And those are 2 areas that I see so many women, friends, families struggling with. And it is so hard to take care of yourself and to take care of others when those things are on your plate. And I should say I do feel qualified to touch on these topics a little bit. Anxiety can bring up a lot of different thoughts for different people, and I'm really touching on the full spectrum. But I do come from kind of a lengthy family history of different mental health illness, so I understand the gravity of what the word anxiety can actually mean. I am the only one that isn't in my immediate family that hasn't been prescribed some kind of psychiatric meds for either depression or anxiety. So I've walked very closely and yet indirectly with people battling those afflictions, and then also have started to recently well, not so much recently, but more in my mid-20s, so several years ago, started to, I guess, some hormonal changes, some life changes happened, and slowly kind of became someone who now understands what anxiety feels like more and those panicky thoughts. So really started to seek out natural ways to overcome that. And then sleep. Who doesn't want a little more sleep in their life? And I realize I'm speaking to women who are probably getting up multiple times a night with crying babies, but I haven't had to do that yet. But I am a chronically light sleeper, and I have always been, and so I've always been trying to find ways to sleep better. And then I got married, like Renee said, almost a year ago, and then any sleep I was maybe getting pretty much went out the window, and not for a sexy reason, mostly because there's a person, and if he moves, I'm awake, and if his body heat is different, I'm awake, and it's so that the first 6 months or so was really difficult, and I felt very exhausted through all of it, and again, not for fun reasons. So trying to work through that, I have tried all of these things that I will be sharing about myself. I've practiced them on myself. I use them, some of them on a daily basis. So I'll just jump right into that, and hopefully you'll be able to at least walk away with one, maybe two or more things that you can actually take home and use in your own life. So the first one is kind of an odd one, and it's magnesium. And magnesium is known kind of in the health world as it's a very relaxing mineral, and it's something that we all need. I think it's part of over 100 different reactions in our bodies, yet most of us, I would say most of us are probably somewhat deficient or have been deficient in it at one point. And the reason being is one of the main food sources for magnesium are dark leafy greens, which I doubt we're all eating at every single meal of the day. And the others, if you are maybe doing that at every meal, that's great for you. But the soil and the produce of today is actually very different than the produce and soil of 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So our plants and our produce are actually becoming really mineral deficient too. So I always recommend, if you're not going to eat some of those foods listed and really boost your food sources, then it's a great option to try a supplement that I'll show here. But I wanted to read just a quote. There's a somewhat famous doctor, I don't know if you've heard of him, but Dr. Mark Hyman was talking about magnesium as a therapeutic supplement, and I found this so interesting. Let's read a little quote from him. He says, "I remember using magnesium when I worked in the emergency room. It was a critical medication, in quotes, on the crash cart. If someone was dying of a life-threatening arrhythmia or irregular heartbeat, we would use intravenous magnesium. If someone was constipated or was preparing for a colonoscopy, we would relax their bowels with magnesium. And if pregnant women came in with preterm labor or preeclampsia or seizures, we gave them continuous high doses of intravenous magnesium." So I realize those are really intense examples, but it's a really gentle supplement. Again, it's a mineral that we probably consume in small part every day. So I use, and I brought my little prop table, I use, it's called Natural Calm, and it actually says the anti-stress drink on it. And I put little bit links on here if you want to go look up the exact products I'm talking about. But this is a great little option. You can't really tell anymore. I put some in my water bottle, but it is essentially, it makes a little bit of a fizzy drink it just has a minerally taste. And I will drink it before bed. It helps to calm racing thoughts. It really just takes the panic down one level. It's not a drug, so it's just a mineral. So it's very soothing, and you don't feel like you're on anything. I have friends that will take it throughout the day too, or just put a little in their water bottles. So that is number one, magnesium. The second one that I feel like I really crafted this talk well, because while I was super nervous this morning, I get to use all of my anti-anxiety things up here in front of me, like snipping things. This is genius. So essential oils are kind of all the rage right now. You probably have your own opinions on them, or someone who's selling them or whatnot. And I'm not trying to sell you anything. But essential oils, little bottles of different smelling oils, besides the fact that most of them smell really good, or most of them, not all of them, they are basically the immune system of plants that have been bottled. So they're very powerful. They're super, super condensed. And different, in the same way that an herbalist would prescribe herbs, you can use essential oils for different things, all sorts of different things. But there's a couple that I wrote down on there that I use most nights before bed, because it's just this fun little bedtime routine. And and you're welcome to come smell these later, but I'll use just lavender, which is a common one, and then cedarwood, less common. Has kind of a woodsy scent. And I'll rub it on the bottom of my feet You can do it really diluted on children too, just really diluted. There's larger pores on your feet, and your feet also have less sensitive skin, so it's kind of a win-win area to put types of remedies like this. So those are more fun little ways. They also have the particular brand I use, because I'm sure someone will ask, is Young Living, just because I have a wholesale discount with them, but they also make a lot of really great and relaxing blends, so those are more aimed at anxiety and just keeping you calm throughout the day, so I'll put them on my wrists and smell them. If anything, it's a wonderful placebo effect, and I'm a big believer in the placebo effect, so those are those. The third one is also kind of a funny one, but it's literally real salt. The brand is called Real Salt. And salt feels kind of like a four-letter word, I think, in our culture. Salt feels like this bad thing that we're supposed to avoid. Low sodium has become all the rage. But sodium, the lack of sodium in our systems has actually become a little bit of a detriment in a lot of health cases that I've seen. I don't know if the phrase adrenal fatigue stirs up anything in anyone, but that's often caused by a lack of real sodium. So I actually have I've seen several naturopaths that the first thing they do in the morning in their own lives is pour not a tablespoon, that's a lot, a half a teaspoon or so of actual real salt that's not been processed or refined in a glass of warm water, and that's their morning beverage for the day. And it really nourishes your adrenals. It helps your body to respond to the stress hormones that you're producing throughout the day. So that is another one. It's this particular brand, it's kind of funny that it's called Real Salt, but there are others that are unprocessed salts as well, but I actually see this more as a nutrient and like a health food, because it's full of dozens of trace minerals that your body needs that wouldn't be found in like that, the little iodinized salt, or the salt shakers at most restaurants are not real salt. They're very highly processed. I love this one. This next one is about breathing, and it's funny, I do this before I ever speak, but now I actually might do it in the middle of speaking, which is kind of fun for me. Breathing is a huge thing when it comes to sleep and relaxation. I'm sure we all have heard that. I wasn't a huge believer until I started doing yoga a couple years ago, and even then, I was more in the yoga for the sweat and the exercise and the flexibility, and I kind of ignored all the weird breathing cues they would give because they felt a little too hippy-dippy for me, but there is a way of breathing that's called, I've only ever heard it called 4-7-8 breathing, which is not a very classy name, but it's a way of breathing that I've seen lots of doctors teach as an alternative to pretty severe anxiety meds. And it's essentially breathing deeply in to a count of 4, you hold it at the top for a count of 7, and then you release through your mouth slowly and controlled through a count of 8. And the important thing there is that it really focuses in on actually using your full lung capacity, because most of us sitting at desks all day, or even not sitting at desks, driving, talking a lot with kids, we're using a very small portion of our lungs and breathing pretty quickly and not actually expanding our full lung space. So the idea behind this 4-7-8 thing is that you're actually able to use your breath to control your mind instead of vice versa. So when your breath is slow and calm, it sends signals to your brain that you actually are calm, even if you're not. And so I will actually use this more to fall asleep at night as well. This kind of factors in, all of these really factor into both calm and anti-anxiety remedies, as well as sleep quality enhancers. But falling asleep at night, sometimes it's kind of the mature adult version of counting sheep, I think of it as. But I'll tell myself that if I have kind of racing thoughts, or I'm feeling a little wired maybe, not ready for bed, I will lay there and I'll tell myself I'm going to do 10 rounds of this 4-7-8 breathing, and if it doesn't work, then I'll get up and do something else. And I don't think I've ever made it past 7 or so. It's a very relaxing effect, and I find myself yawning usually by the second or third round of it, even if I'm doing it in the middle of the day. So you should all try that later. But yawning makes you feel sleepy and relaxed, so that's part of how that works. So try that at home, and it starts to become a little second nature. I mean, I do it on planes, I do it anytime that I'm in traffic, if I'm feeling tense. If I have to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and I come back and I feel too awake to fall back asleep, I'll do it a lot then as well, and it's been a huge help in my life. And then moving on to movement. You could do a whole talk on the sleep and movement. Actually, I was at a nutrition conference this weekend in Anaheim, and there was a seminar I went to called Sleep and Movement. And I learned some great things there. But the main thing being, I know we all know that there's a connection between exercise then sleep, good sleep, exercise and endorphins, exercise and happiness. So we won't get into the nitty-gritty there, but I think the issue that I want to point out is that usually we don't have time for it, or we think we don't. I'm totally someone who, if I don't have like an hour chunk to do the workout I want to do, then I use that as an excuse to not work out at all. And an hour may seem like a really long time to some of you. And so I put 2 links there to 2 of my favorite just options that you can check out. Some of you are probably familiar. Second one, my good friend in real life, Robin Long, runs the Balanced Life online. She used to live in Santa Barbara years ago, but she is a very successful online Pilates instructor and has tons of, she's a mom as well of 2 little kids, and she has tons of free Pilates workouts, like at-home ones that you can do, and some of them are 3 minutes long. I mean, they are like commercial break Pilates workouts. And the seminar I went to this weekend was just overemphasizing that any movement throughout the day is beneficial to us. So don't let the fact that you don't have an hour or even a half an hour stop you from doing that. The first link is to the woman that actually gave the talk that I went to. She's a physical therapist that owns a practice in San Diego. You can go to her website, The Move Method, and there's lots of free, small, again, 3-minute or so videos about how to use movement to increase flexibility and to lessen joint pain and to increase your sleep quality at night. And then wrapping up here, I just wanted to point out that healthy fats, again, fats is one of those 4-letter words, I think, in our culture, right up there with salt, that I think we're starting to get over a little bit, but whoever came out with the fat-free epidemic decades ago now, I think really did women especially a huge disservice, because we need them to produce proper hormones balance. We need them to nourish our brains. We need them for so many things. And I'm talking about good quality fats, not canola oil and all that jazz that's in most processed food, but true healthy fats. And I list some obvious examples: avocado, cultured dairy, pastured eggs and meat. Coconut oil is all the rage right now. Fermented cod liver oil is not all the rage right now, but it is in my world. And I brought just a little bottle of one of the kind of the best brands out there that actually ferments their cod liver oil, so it's really absorbable by our bodies, and they flavor it naturally, so it doesn't taste like gross fish. But that is a great way to get fat-soluble vitamins. There's a lot of vitamins. I didn't know this until I was in school for nutrition, but there's a lot of vitamins that are fat-soluble, which literally means if you're not taking them with fat, your body's not going to absorb them. So you can eat the nutrients all day, but if you're not eating adequate fat, it really doesn't matter. So something like a product like a cod liver oil blend or whatnot is going to have vitamins A and D in the proper proportions, and it's going to come with the fats, so your body actually knows what to do with them. And there's just this little side funny tip that I do that's somewhat related to this, but it has to do with fats, is I will often take a spoonful or 2 of a pretty saturated healthy fat like right before bed. And I know most people think it's horrible to eat right before you go to bed. And I'm not talking about eating a full meal, but if I eat a pretty early dinner and I'm feeling a little hungry, I've noticed that, and a lot of my clients too, will have pretty disrupted sleep, and it's most often related to blood sugar imbalances. So while you're not eating, you're literally fasting while you're sleeping. Your blood sugar can be doing all sorts of things and not know when it's going to get its next meal. So for me, having just even a tablespoon of, this may sound gross, but like a full-fat yogurt or even a cultured sour cream. I'm really into cultured dairy. It's a lot healthier than just regular conventional dairy. It helps your body digest it better. It's kind of the old-fashioned way to eat dairy that most of our ancestors did. But I will do that before bed, sometimes sprinkle a little salt on it for the adrenals. And I've noticed that I am waking up less and I'm sleeping a little deeper. So that's just a fun little takeaway as well. And then the last one that I wanted to touch on is, I could talk for hours on it in and of itself, but I won't, but it's gut health. I said this to my dad when I first started school, and he told me that saying gut health sounded not very ladylike. So, but that's what it is. So when I say gut, I'm referring to your stomach, your entire digestive tract essentially. So your small intestine, your large intestine. And gut health is something that I think I'm seeing a lot more, at least in the health world, that I'm kind of always swimming in, and I think it's becoming more popular now. You've heard of probiotics. Those are something I feel like I'm always pushing on people. I'm a probiotic pusher, but that's the one supplement that I will pretty much across the map recommend to anyone or any client that I've had, because it's my belief that just if you're someone who's grown up on the standard American diet, which processed foods, lots of wheat, lots of conventional dairy, which is most of us, our gut flora is damaged. So the truth is that there are millions and billions of microbes that are living all within us and lining the walls of our intestines and our stomachs. And anything, alcohol, antibiotics, birth control, processed foods, they all damage that and kill those off, which leads us to low immunity, lots of sickness. And so how I tie this into anxiety and sleep is just the belief that you're never really going to have a good night's rest. You're never really going to feel calm and have balanced moods and feel that homeostasis in your body unless your gut health is where it's supposed to be. And so the two ways that I've kind of listed that are just the most simple, easy ways to overcome that would be to take a quality probiotic supplement. Just pop a capsule and you're kind of done for the day. Fermented foods are a great way to get those in. They're just not very popular in our culture. If you travel anywhere in Eastern Europe or Asia, I feel like they are much more popular. I think kimchi, which is a pickled fermented food, is I think the national food of Korea. But then you come to America and we're eating French fries. And so you can buy truly fermented pickles and cultured dairy at stores. They're just less popular and we're not eating them at every meal. So if that's not something that sounds appealing to you, then I would suggest just taking a probiotic in the mornings as well, because they can give you a little energy boost, so don't take them at night. And then I had to mention apple cider vinegar because of the book that just came out. Thanks for the sweet plug, Renee. But apple cider vinegar is another thing that's been around for ages and ages and ages, thousands of years, and it's another way to spark digestion, to increase your good stomach acid, to decrease any heartburn feelings you may have. And so I will just take it, usually in the morning, I'll just pour maybe a tablespoon or two in a glass of water, maybe add some lemon juice, a little honey to make it palatable, and then just kind of sip it throughout the day. And that's another way to kill off disease, to strengthen both your digestive systems and your immune systems, and that, in my personal and professional opinion, will lead to overall better health and homeostasis and balance in our bodies, which is super necessary for mood homeostasis, and then also just for getting good quality sleep. So those are my 7 little practical tips, and you're welcome to kind of play around with any of this stuff after and ask more questions. I don't know what the time frame is like, or if I'm happy to answer questions if there are any, or we can discuss at tables. Yes. Did I talk too fast?
I'm just reading that you have to be sure to get the organic.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah. So have anybody heard of the Dirty Dozen list? Yeah, I think it's actually listed in the back of the book, but there's the Environmental Working Group is a nonprofit that comes out every year. It's kind of cool. They basically do thousands of tests on produce in the United States, and then they rank the top, I think it's the top 12 of the dirtiest, most pesticide-laden produce, and then there's the Clean 15. Sometimes there's a few more than 15, but it's the cleanest produce. So if you can't afford, essentially it's so if you can't afford organic, where can you cheat and still feel like you're not doing a total disservice to your body? So all that to say, apples have repeatedly been the #1 on the dirty list for years. I don't totally know why that is, but so that's why they really stress I stress in the book to buy organic apple products, I should say. Yes, Chris.
Can you just describe why apple cider vinegar versus other kind of vinegar? I mean, what is it about apple cider vinegar?
Yeah, well, a lot of it has to, there's some kind of intense sciencey stuff, but there's something called organic acids. So you have your distilled white vinegar, which does not have, for example, the apples added into it. So it's really this natural process that the apples have the natural sugar in it. So you're not adding sugar to make this vinegar or to make the cider. You can actually just use apple scraps. And then the specific nutrients that are already in the apples they end up breaking down and becoming organic acids. The book describes it a little more in detail, but there are other vinegars that some countries have made are more popular in other countries. Rice vinegars and potato vinegars. Apple has, I think, repeatedly just tested as something that is more both nourishing and helpful to the gut, so it doesn't just kind of neutralize things, it actually gives you beneficial nutrients and organic acids in it. But there are a few others that are, and it tastes better than white vinegar as well. Is that kind of what you meant?
Places like Il Fustino that sell
Yeah.
wide variety of
Right.
wonderful tasting vinegar. Is that it?
Yeah, I mean, vinegars in general are going to give you that kind of boost to your, it basically tells your stomach that food's coming. And so a lot of people, it's a funny little tangent, but a lot of people who have think they have heartburn really don't. So they end up getting prescribed these, what is it? Yeah, which I understand some people really have benefited from, but some people who are misdiagnosed and think they have heartburn, it's actually a low amount of stomach acid that they're dealing with. A lot of us that are eating kind of crappy diets, it lowers our stomach acid. So those feelings of heartburn are actually your body struggling to digest food, so you actually need more stomach acid. I know that may sound a little strange, but so the apple cider vinegar is often used as a remedy for heartburn, but it's really not heartburn that it's helping. It's actually just stirring up and helping your body produce just the proper amount. You need stomach acid. It's not a bad thing, and so that's kind of the idea.